I'm Sydney,
And I'm Julie.
and this is Restaurant and Retail Revelations. Listeners, welcome to episode 33 of Restaurant and Retail Revelations, a podcast spotlighting movers and shakers in the hospitality industry. This podcast is made possible by Revel Systems, provider of the leading cloud-native POS platform on the market. Today, Julie and I are very excited to talk with Daniel or Dan Murphy, who is Vice President of Partnership and Business Development for Paytronix.
That's right. And as a quick note for any listeners who maybe don't know this, Paytronix isn't just a premier customer engagement solution provider. They're also one of Revel's incredible integrated partners. So I'm very excited to chat with Dan about the value of direct integration between Paytronix and merchant POS platforms like us, and to hear what their team has been working on lately.
Absolutely. The Paytronix team is an innovative one. So I know they're going to have some exciting projects in the works. And especially as trending topics continue to include inflationary pressures, staffing challenges, supply chain disruptions, and the like, it'll be really great to hear what types of benefits merchants can expect to explore with solutions like customer engagement and rewards programs, not to mention online ordering and delivery. So loyal guests are important as ever. And especially as we head into the holiday season, I'm looking forward to Dan's thoughts on how brands can leverage those offerings to drive real business value.
I could not agree more. And with that said, let's get started. Here's Dan.
Dan, thank you so much for joining us on the Restaurant and Retail Revelations podcast. We are very excited to have you as this episode's featured guest.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Sydney. It's nice to be here.
So to get things started, I'd really love to talk to you about Paytronix and just a little bit of the company's background and the solutions that you provide.
Well, Paytronix is a customer experience platform. We've been around 22 years. Started primarily on loyalty, working with the restaurant industry. We've since branched out into the C-store vertical. We also have solutions for gift cards, comp cards, order and delivery, which is our online ordering platform, and also data insights, which allows us to give our guests more information, or should I say our customers more information about their guests, to do one-to-one personalized offers and increase revenue, frequency, things of that nature.
Yeah. And, you guys clearly play a really important role for restaurant and retail brands based on what you just shared. And of course, as a Revel employee, one of my favorite parts about your company is that you guys are Revel integrated partners. So Dan, can you share a little bit more about some of the benefits of a direct integration between Paytronix and a point of sale provider like Revel for merchants?
Yeah, we've been integrated with Revel for our three platforms, loyalty, gift, and O&D for years now. We share a number of clients. The direct integration allows us to have basically be seamless from our customer, the restaurateur, and the end user whenever there's a transaction from even Revel to Paytronix loyalty or O&D to Revel POS. So it allows for that integration, saves time, allows for increased revenue depending on the solution they're using, right? So whether it's loyalty or gift, you can bump that revenue and increase your guest visits with frequency through loyalty.
Yeah, and seamless integration is key. I think it's just an expectation these days for merchants and guests alike. One thing I'd love to hear from you, there's a lot of integrations out there. What would you say are some key differentiators for Paytronix and what sets you apart in a pretty competitive space?
It's an interesting question. When I came on, actually, I've been with Paytronix 1 year today. So when I came on to head up partnerships, we had over 450 integrations, and a lot of integrations today or back then were done that are customer driven, right? You have a common customer, I need to have this, we have to do it. And then it kind of sits on the shelf. We've taken a more strategic approach these days into integrations and partnerships. What works for our ecosystem, what works for the customer base overall, what allows Paytronix to expand our book of business and to help the restaurant industry with these partnerships. So as we go through the strategic analysis, as we talk to potential partners, we want to see who they're working with, right? What restaurant companies, what chains, what independents, what other partners they're working with, right? Where it makes sense to reach out and form that partnership as well. And then decide how we want to go through the integration process. So there's a couple ways we can do it. We have APIs so people can write to us, which is the quickest way, right? We assign a project manager, provide the APIs, set up the tech meeting, statement of work, have the conversations, they write to us, and then we do a certification process with their documentation to make sure everything is where it should be. It works when it gets into the end user's hands. And then the second way we can do it as well is get it on our dev schedule, on our roadmap, and we can write the integration. Now, traditionally, most tech companies have a roadmap that's built out for 12, 18 months. So getting something on the calendar, sometimes it's kind of a lengthy process, let's call it. But that allows us to control the integration process. We write the documentation and make any changes that we need to in the future. So either way will work, but quicker to market for partners and customers, our common customers, is if our partners write to us.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are focused on quality over quantity, and I'm certainly glad Revel fit the bill.
Well, it's
to be an
interesting.
integration partner.
It's interesting, Julie, is we have 30 plus POS integrations, and at the end of the day, do you really need 30 plus POS integrations? So you really have to be strategic in your thinking, right? What verticals are we looking to serve? SMB, regional, enterprise. What's the strategic partnerships that we need to develop in each one of those verticals, right? To help the industry move forward, to grow our customer base, and to help our partners grow as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure that's a huge part of your day to day. And I also want to, for business operators who maybe haven't taken advantage of a loyalty program yet, can you share some of the general high level benefits of implementing one, whether it's at a restaurant or a retailer? I'm sure there are so many.
Yeah, there's a laundry list of benefits, especially today. Coming out of the pandemic, it's been, really important that the concepts out there adopt technology. And the technology that was adopted were location services, online ordering, pickup, delivery, the off-premise, right? The pandemic drove people to stay out of restaurants, number one, and to find different ways to enjoy their favorite food. With a loyalty program, what we've done is we've actually taken it a step further with artificial intelligence that we can do one-to-one offers. So I know what Sydney likes because I know what she eats, where she eats, when she eats it, how often she eats it, what she pays for, right? I know what Julie likes for the same reasons. So I can tailor our offerings to Julie and Sydney. I know Sydney's a vegetarian, so I'm not going to send her an offer for a hamburger. I'm going to send her an offer for something that she would enjoy. She always comes in at dinner. Do I target a different meal period to maybe get an extra visit at Julie a month, a week, right? We also have the ability to target customers based on their visits, whether they're lapsing or they've lapsed, right? So if somebody's lapsing, they come in once a month. Now they're coming in once every 45 days. We can automatically target them with an offer to get them back in that once a month cycle, even twice a month with our targeted offers. And our data insights, our artificial intelligence allows us to do this on a consistent basis, which bumps revenue, increases frequency, which for our common customers is what it's all about, right? Especially in these trying times with labor shortage, supply chain issues, the economy not in a great place, inflation. They have to find ways to increase that revenue and profitability and keep their customers happy. So loyalty programs accomplish that.
Yeah, and now that we've got a baseline just for those general benefits of a loyalty solution, and certainly the direct integration with a POS platform, I'd really love to dig into an example if you have one. So we don't have to name drop, but if you can think of some tangible results that one of our shared clients has experienced since going live with the Revel and Paytronix integration, I'd love to hear an example.
Well, yeah, you caught me totally unprepared on that, but I could tell you just in general that you see a double-digit increase in frequency visits when you implement a loyalty program such as Paytronix. We have a number of shared clients that are utilizing the Revel point of sale and the Paytronix loyalty, as well as O&D, which is online ordering or gift cards, and anything from points-based, dollars-based, delight and surprise, subscriptions, right? The subscriptions are a big thing these days, right? So you pay a monthly fee, you have a subscription, you get X. Let's look at Panera Bread, right? They X number of, you pay a monthly and you get your morning coffee for free, right? But there's always that add-on. I always get a scone, or I always get a Danish, or I always get a sandwich with it. So I always get that uptick in revenue by giving that coffee. So we have a number of customers that we share that are doing things like that, or that are seeing tremendous benefits for the combined offering.
Yeah, the benefits, they're not just nice for the consumer experience, they're really profitable for the business too. It's driving more return visits. It's
Right.
great. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Well, and what's really interesting is that when you have the Paytronix loyalty, you're also getting a team that helps you develop and implement your loyalty programs. So we can actually develop it for you and run it against a control group to see the results before it's implemented concept wide. So it's kind of the, not trial by error, but we can base it on fact. Here's what this program did for you, and here's what's happening without it. So you can see we got a 2x, 3x return on this.
Yeah, and it sounds like you can vet a variety of different strategies too, because maybe the first one isn't gonna, generate quite as much as the next one. So, we love a great success story. You shared some great examples there. I'd also be remiss if I didn't ask about just some of the challenges facing our industry. You already spoke to just some of the changes that occurred just throughout COVID-19 and the pandemic. So when crisis strikes in general, whether it's a natural disaster or just any unforeseen event, how does Paytronix literally and figuratively help clients weather those storms?
So there's a couple of ways. There was a lot of things that went on during the pandemic, whether it was companies like Paytronix forgiving monthly payments to customers that were struggling just to keep the doors open, working one-on-one with them to develop programs that would help them with their off-premise business. Today, as I mentioned earlier, there's not one singular event that's going on that's hurting the restaurant industry. There's multiple things. I mean, we're hiring servers at $15, $18 an hour today. That was unheard of years ago. Is that sustainable? The labor shortages is crazy. The supply chain issues. Menus changing on a daily basis because we cannot get the product. Or if they get the product, it's 40% higher than it was a year ago. So there's a lot of things that's really hurting the industry. And what we try and do is give them tools to help them be more successful in driving revenue and keeping happier customers. And keeping it simple, really, at the end of the day.
Simplicity is a beautiful thing. And flexibility is, I think, more essential now than it ever has been. And so, as we shift back to some sunnier topics to keep the weather metaphor, I'd love to hear just what's on the horizon for Paytronix. I know you guys are constantly innovating. You mentioned AI at the start of this call. And so are there any product developments or milestones or other updates that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so the customer experience platform, what we've done with the O&D is we've released a solution that allows customers, instead of having the standard cookie cutter template that everybody has because they can't afford a custom app for online ordering, that allows them to choose from a number of different templates, right? So they can customize it at a fraction of the cost and have full functionality as you would with a fully customized six-figure app, let's call it, that you need to go outside your vendor and work with to get that done. We've done that. We've actually working harder and harder on the AI tools. So it's artificial intelligence to individual action is what we call it. That allows us to focus on the individual guest, the restaurateur, and give them tools for that guest, like we talked about earlier, that'll satisfy that one guest, right? I made Sydney happy, she comes back in. I made Julie happy, she comes back in. They're relevant offers, right? And then just looking at our O&D platform, which is a platform, quite honestly, that is acceptable for an individual restaurant owner, right? An independent, to a concept that has thousands of locations. So we're continuing to build that out, right? And continuing to work with partners, because we don't want to be everything to everyone. Strategic partnerships are so important these days, and picking the right strategic partner is important. So as we look at all of our solutions, we're constantly looking at partners in the industry where will increase the value of that solution for the operators.
Yeah, at Revel, we love working with partners that love to innovate, and it sounds like there's no shortage of that within the walls of Paytronix. Lots of things moving and shaking over there.
I will tell you, Julie, working with the Revel team has been great. From everybody from your CEO, Greg, down to Michael and partnerships, the enterprise team. It's a great partnership that we have with Revel. We have a weekly call just to review where we are, what we're doing, what we can be doing better. So really a strategic partnership as we look at partnerships overall. The one with Revel is excellent.
I love to hear that feedback. I know the feeling is mutual. And I also love that you guys, it sounds like you really have a solution for everyone, whether it's a little more out of the box, whether it's a little bit more that six-figure app. I think, that's really inclusive. And Dan, before we wrap things up here, I want to ask where our listeners can go if they want to learn a little bit more about how they can work with your team. And also, is there anything we just didn't ask you today that you'd love to share?
Well, you could always go to Paytronix.com, right? Just www.paytronix.com. That'll give you all your information about our platforms that we have available for everyone. And you're right, it is from an independent to a enterprise level customer. We primarily focus on hospitality and C-store, although we are expanding and looking at other verticals where we fit, because other verticals are feeling the same pains as the restaurant industry, right? Labor, supply chain, all the things we talked about earlier. What they don't know is in the last year that we've opened up our platform to the independent space, the SMB business, right? To allow independents, the 1 to 9, 1 to 10, to take advantage of the solutions that they need just as bad as the enterprise level customers need. They have to find ways to get their people in, their customers in more frequently, and to bump revenue. So we've opened the platform up. We have a dedicated team for SMB, sales reps, dedicated team for regional, and a dedicated team for enterprise, as well as customer success managers and account managers. So we're really excited about 2023 coming up as we continue to expand that, not only our teams, but our verticals and obviously our platforms as well.
Big things ahead. I love to hear that. And you're right. It's excellent when you can find a way to impact and assist other businesses and kind of open things up for other brands to really realize those values and benefits that your team brings.
You go through a career, and then you at times you land in a space where you're just so lucky to work for people and for a company that really value customers, that are so customer centric that every decision they make is centered around those customers. And I work for Andrew Robbins as our CEO and Charles Gray as a CRO, and these folks are just so customer centric that every conversation we have is, how does it affect the customer, right? Yep. So you're very, very lucky to be in this position.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Dan, we don't want to take too much more of your time today. I know you're a busy guy. I know you've got a lot of great things happening there at Paytronix. So just thank you so much for your time today and for chatting with us. And absolutely on behalf of the team, thank you for the continued partnership.
Well, Sydney, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for having me on, and I look forward to talking to you both in the near future.
As a Paytronix partner, our Revel team has seen many examples of the solution's successful deployment at enterprise brands. It's very cool to know that they're expanding services to other verticals as well. And I know businesses of all sizes and all varieties could stand for a little extra loyalty and a seamless experience these days.
Yes, I love that even more businesses will be able to explore the offerings available through Paytronix. And it's great to hear. It was also awesome to get Dan's perspective earlier in our chat on how his team has doubled down on a more strategic approach to integrations, really focusing on the ones that add value to the partner ecosystem and, of course, to our merchants.
Yep. The saying goes, Jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that definitely applies just as well to business integrations. You really can't be everything to everyone, which is part of the value of integrations in general, I think. To me, Paytronix's decision to be hyper vigilant in their approach to new partnerships also just really underscores a commitment to quality for our shared clients. And that's really great to see.
So, on that note, I'll extend one more thank you to Dan for his time and insights, as well as a special thanks to the listeners who have tuned into this episode. Please like and subscribe to Restaurant and Retail Revelations on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts to make sure you never miss new content. And of course, we'll be back soon with even more revelations.